I have really wearing henna on my hands, so ignore that for now. Anyway, I posted my reactions to Fellowship of the Ring. People are really watching it. Thank you for people who have commented and liked the video. Anyway, there was a scene that I believe their name is Math or someone else. I think, no, it was Grace. This person named Grace brought up. It says that they weren't speaking to each other in their minds, in my opinion. I think it was just the look on Frodo's face that made Merry know that he couldn't stay with them. And so I was like, okay, I think I know what you're saying. But I went back and I think the subtitles are incorrect. I watch these movies with subtitles. So I'm gonna now show you the clip that I was referencing where I was confused. So I don't know how much of this I can show because obviously copyright and whatever, HBO, which is now Max, is blocking me from recording this with my Streamlabs OBS. But I wanted to show you, this is the scene. Boromir tried stealing the ring from Frodo. Orcs came because Frodo used the ring to get away from Boromir, so they're able to track where he was because of the connection to the ring. So anyway, I'm gonna play this scene. If it will let me. Oh my god, the pause thing really frustrates me. Merry and Pippin saw Frodo hiding behind this tree away from the orcs, and Merry and Pippin are like, come here, come on, come with us, we'll get you out of here. And Frodo's shaking his head, saying, no, I'm gonna run. I don't think I can trust anyone. The ring is corrupting him and he's nervous.
He's leaving.
And so they understand and they're speaking aloud, saying like, oh no, Frodo's going to run. That's not good. I don't know where Sam is at the moment. And realizing what's about to happen, worried that they're going to lose Frodo, Merry and Pippin decide to like step up, which actually I will give them credit for. They are being brave, trying to stick with their friend. Because I gave Merry and Pippin a lot of shit in this movie, so I will give them that. They were trying to do good here, and they do distract the orcs from getting to Frodo. So I'm like, that's a really good sign of bravery and courage that they're already showing.
No!
So they're coming out. So Merry said no. Merry is saying Pippin because he's like, no, don't go out there. The orcs are still out there. You're going to get spotted. This is really scary. So now they're out in the open because Merry follows suit. And then Merry, or no, that's Pippin. Pippin's like, oh no, I stopped because I saw the orcs. The orcs are going to see us. And I think they do. And they both kind of panic. And so they look at each other.
Run, Frodo. Go.
See, there's a line that said Merry said, run, Frodo. I don't think that's Merry. I'm going to show you this again. Again, sorry for copyright. So they're looking at each other. They're not saying any words.
Run, Frodo. Go.
I don't know who's saying that. I don't think that's Merry's voice. He sounds very different. But it's credited to Merry. But neither of them have moved their mouths. I think that's where I was confused. I was like, none of them are talking. I feel like that's Aragorn or Boromir saying that, or maybe it's Bilbo in his head. I don't know who's talking to Frodo, but neither of them said that. That didn't sound like that, and it sounded, now that I'm listening to it again, it sounds like reverb, so it sounds like something someone else said.
Hey! Hey, you! Over here! Hey!
See, that's Merry's voice, and that's Merry and that's Pippin. I get them confused, but neither of them sound like that voice that said run, Frodo. So something's going on here with the subtitles that I think needs to be fixed.
Go.
I don't think either of them said that, or it's not obvious. So that's where my confusion was. If any of you guys could put more context into that scene, I'd really appreciate it because I'm not sure if the subtitles are fucking with me or not. Okay, I think I understand where my confusion is coming from. I think it's a bad edit on the movie's part. So they're clearly making eyes with Frodo. They're exchanging looks.
Run, Frodo. Go.
So I think Merry is saying this, but they just didn't show the actor saying it. And I think there was like that one frame where his mouth was kind of in an O shape that could have been for like go, but then they didn't show it and then they just sort of cut away.
Hey!
So I think that was him, and I thought there was reverb, and I think that's where I was getting tripped up with the Galadriel cutscene, where they were talking in their heads and there was reverb because no one's mouths were moving. I think I was so fixated on that I thought the same thing was going on here, but I think it's just a weird cut with the movie. I hope that made sense. I'm sorry that I keep going back to this moment. I'm just like, am I stupid? I feel like I'm not stupid, and this is no hate to Grace. It was just, I'm just fixating on this for some reason. And I think I found my answer now. So apologies for all the talking. Sorry, I'm like one of those people who watches stuff with subtitles. I need them. I don't know if it's my ADHD, my ADD brain, but sometimes I feel like I can't hear, like some of the sound editing in movies nowadays, there's too loud of music and action, and then I can't hear the actor. So I'm like, you know what? Just give me subtitles so I can get the full picture. So yeah, sorry for my rant. We're now gonna just cut to me watching Two Towers, and hopefully I don't get copyright striked for the first movie and this reaction to the second movie. So yeah, enjoy past me reacting to the second movie. See you later. Alright, I started Two Towers, and already it's starting off a lot more interesting. We get to see Gandalf and is finishing up his fight with Balrog. Also, I just realized Balrog has wings. When the bridge fell, why didn't he fly? Was there not enough room? I know as they were falling, they were in really tight chasms, but they were walking down a ton of stairs before. I didn't think there'd be more open room on the bridge they were on. So why didn't Balrog fly? Or could he not because of the spell that Gandalf called? But then he still could have flown. But whatever. It was still pretty cool. But now Gollum is Sam and Frodo's prisoner. And I don't really get why they're keeping him. They're using the elven rope to keep him whole, but I don't know why they've kept him. Is it to make sure, like, he doesn't sneak up on them? Is it to make sure he doesn't, like, report back to the orcs and Saruman? I guess it's better than him, like, stalking them and trying to take the ring, so it's like, we gotta keep an eye on you, but I'm like, and I guess they need to use the rope later, because it's important, and it's from Galadriel, but I was like, tie up his hands and just carry him on your back if you must. I guess he does bite, so maybe don't keep him near your neck. I don't know. Just seems kind of strange. I mean, Andy Serkis is doing a top tier job, so I guess I'm okay with it. I meant to comment in the previous movie, what makes the orc that was birthed with the handprint on his face that Saruman gave, like, title of general to, why is he so important? He sort of woke up and Saruman looked at him and it was like, you will be my captain. And it's like, but why? He said something interesting that orcs are born through dead elves, which I thought was interesting. I believe that's what he said. There must be some sort of, like, necromancy going on, and it's like, I don't know how it's explained, but that was, like, interesting. They're, like, the opposites. They're almost like dark elves in that instance. But, I mean, he's doing good at his job, and I think he killed the guy that was awakening him, or was, like, near where he was being born out of the sack thing. It was still a little confusing, though. I mean, it gives us another face to be, like, villain, instead of, like, all these, like, faceless CGI people, and also just other people who are dressed up. But I'm like, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he has a name. So, yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there. The design's cool, and he's fierce, and he killed Boromir, so, like, he's got credit, but I don't know why he's quote-unquote special. Something else I meant to comment on. Now that we're seeing Saruman again, is there a reason why Saruman and Sauron's names are so similar? The way he just set them next to each other, I'm like, oh yeah, they do really sound similar. And even when Aragorn realized they were heading to Isengard with Pip and Merry, he was like, Saruman. And I almost thought he said Sauron, but I have a subtitle on, so it said Saruman. So, was that meant to be like a hint for those of you who were reading the book? Like, it just seems too on the nose that their names are similar. And I don't know the lore all this is based off on. I don't know if there's, like, Gaelic, or if this is all just, like, from Tolkien's head. But I don't know if there's, like, any, like, Gaelic or Irish influences. That's what, like, the names mean. I don't know. Just, like, let me know. Because I don't... It is weird that their names sound so similar. Okay, so Saruman just talked with these random humans who I guess are mad at the horse people who live in Rohan for taking their land. Again, I don't know the history, so a lot of this is just getting thrown in my face, and I'm like, okay. And then suddenly they're okay with serving Saruman, because Saruman is better than the horse people? Or I guess they're just like, hey, he'll kill me now, and they'll kill me later, so I'd rather stay with him and live longer? I don't understand. Frida, the girl who was crying, leaving with her brother on the horse as her mother stays behind in the burning village in Rohan, getting attacked by orcs. 10 out of 10 acting. I don't know if she's still acting. I hope she still is. Incredible crying. That pulled at my heartstrings. Also, it's very interesting watching this movie because I was in an English class where someone talked about all the World War I references in Tolkien's books. And now seeing them in the movie, I see it. Like, there's a lot of, like, horses that are dead. And Saruman just said something about, like, the forest will burn with the rise of industry. There's just a lot of thematics and visuals that really show, like, the dramas and pain and, like, gore of war. And it's really well told here. Just visually, there's a scene right now where they're, like, by a lake and there's just bodies riddled with arrows, horses down on the ground. We just saw people leaving Rohan, and then Saruman just said that Rohan is falling. So it's very powerful, some of these visuals, and I give Peter Jackson a lot of credit for giving us these shots and holding them. It's really powerful. Really sad. Is Éomer Billy Butcher from The Boys? It looks like him. We're now with this guy, and they just found Theohold, and it looks like him, but younger. I had no idea. Like, wow.
Is this ugly guy Stellan Skarsgård? It looks like him. Talking to this king who looks half dead. I know there's a whole thing of like the last monarch has to die for the new one to come in, but like Jesus Christ, this guy is like half dead. His eyes are glazed over. He's just saying Grima, Grima. Put him out of power. It would have been this other Theodred, but he's been mortally wounded, and his princess Ewan, or maybe sister, I don't know if she said beloved or not. She can rule, can't she? Or this guy that looks like Billy Butcher. What is this drama with the men? I don't care. But like, what? So this perverted guy that I thought was still on Skarsgård, this greasy looking loser, got this other guy, Eomer, banished because he was telling the king about the war, because I think he's in Saruman's pocket. But he's also perving on his sister. And why? And now he's just banished. And he's like, I got the king to sign it. And he's just been twisting this half-dead man. It's so, like, disgusting. Did this ever happen? I mean, this has to have happened in, like, real life. Maybe. It's just baffling. Ugh. This also really makes me want to go to New Zealand. So badly. I went to Australia for 10 days. And we split up the trip between Sydney and Cairns, so we can go to the Great Barrier Reef. And my parents, we've all agreed that we should have just spent our last bits in New Zealand. And seeing this movie and seeing how fucking beautiful New Zealand is, I'm like, oh, why aren't I there? Oh, it's stunning. These set pieces, I can't. It's so gorgeous. Two things. One, I wish Pippin and Merry just died in the orc fight with banished people from Rohan. Two, is Strider Aragorn really that good of a tracker? I know they said he was a ranger, but he was literally able to do play-by-plays of what happened to a T, and that seemed way too on point. I mean, I know there was a visible footprint, but it was like ways away from the battle, and I'm just kind of baffled. I'm like, it lines up too perfectly, in my opinion. I hope it was told amazingly well in the books. Gandalf's fight with Balrog until he became Gandalf the White, because we saw like a snippet, and I wish we had that movie instead, because it's great that he's here, and oh my god, Saruman wasn't the one who ran into Merry and Pippin, but like, I want to watch you fight Balrog. I mean, it's nice that you're here and you're back, and I knew you weren't dead, because I knew you were going to become Grey to White, and then you're still needed because shit's hitting the fan. I'm confused. I mean, I guess he was worthy because, like, he defeated Balrog, which is all shadow. So, like, what's the opposite of shadow? White, which is light, which is now what Gandalf is. So, yay. And also, Saruman definitely, like, left that title behind. I was wondering about that, too, because I'm like, Saruman is still technically the White, but he's super fucking evil. So, it makes a lot more sense that Gandalf could take it from him. Unless there's two Whites at the moment, which I don't quite understand, but it's fine. So much is going on. My goodness. So we buried the kid of the king of Theold, and his curse has been lifted. That was a cool effect. I can't believe those are the same actors, or at least I'm assuming they're the same actors. But what a dramatic change. And getting the guy kicked out and sparing his life is good. And it's very sad, and having the daughter Ewan sing was nice, but I'm like, we have a lot of other concerns. And I know Rohan was a giant territory for Saruman to help conquer and to, like, awaken the Two Towers. But again, this seems small scale, but there's a part of me that still likes the scene, because he's just like, no parent should ever have to bury a child, and his sorrow seems very sincere. That whole funeral scene was very nice. We gotta go. I know that's, like, what happens with war, and you need to take these times to mourn the loss, and it is sad to see someone with no more heirs live out his days as the last of his house. But it kind of sucks that I'm more concerned about the other things, even though this is quite a touching scene, or a past couple of scenes. Very interesting to watch this, like, interaction between Gollum and himself, or I should say Smeagol and Gollum, because it's really sad, number one, and number two, it's like, I don't know if Sam and Frodo will protect you, but the fact that Smeagol has this hope because he's being treated with some kindness because he's been so hateful to himself is kind of sad. Also, Saruman is fucking cruel. He's sending Wargles? What did he call them? I don't know. He's sending monsters pretty much after defenseless women and children as they try to flee from Rohan. It's really uncool. I don't know the fate of Smeagol/Gollum by the end of it. I hope it's okay. I know Gollum is like, Master's my friend, but we'll still have... But I don't know if he's like, he's my friend because he has the ring, or if he's my friend because he's my friend. But he also calls him Master. It's another, like, Mr. Frodo thing where I'm like, where are the ties with this relationship? But I'm curious how this is all gonna play out. I don't know if I like that they're doing like a love triangle thing between Arwen, Aragorn, and this Ewan girl. Also, number one, he just admitted he's 87 and she's probably like at best 25. So long ago, that kind of age thing doesn't matter, but like he knew her grandfather. That's a little weird. Like it would make more sense if Arwen and him were together. Also, they just had this beautiful dream sequence where they got to make out and they were happy. But I didn't know he left her like that, saying it was a dream, nothing more, and you should have this back, be with your people. That kind of sucks. I hope this doesn't mean he's going to cheat on her with this young girl, because I don't think that's a good idea. But I also don't, I feel bad that like she's getting almost strung along because he's being kind to her. I don't like it. We also don't have room to have this love triangle thing going on. We don't have time for this with everything else going on in these movies and plots and characters. Like, just stop. I also have a question for the fan base. Do people not like Legolas? I feel like I've seen Legolas get shit on, but he's doing a really good job. Do people just not like him because he's like really pretty and a really good shot? Like he's almost a Gary Stu. I really like him though. Like I don't know anything about his story. I just know he exists and he's a wood elf. I literally know nothing else about him. We haven't gone into any like of his story. He's not really like from the same clan as like Arwen, I don't think. So like it's weird that he's not going to the Undying Lands. Like I don't know what that story is, but he's really interesting. Though he just did this crazy thing on the horse where he was shooting at the wargs and then he almost did like a flip in the air. I don't know how they shot that. I don't know if that was CG. If that was CG, that was really good subtle CG, unless he was like somehow on wires, but they're all on horses. That's really complicated. Maybe it was a stunt guy, I don't know. That just looked crazy. But like his cape did a cool thing. This is gonna be an interesting fight. And again, she had this like longing look at Aragorn, Ewan, and I'm like, stop. Like, no, he's too old. Two, like, no. And like I understand she wants to fight, like she doesn't want to be like some damsel waiting to be counseled when she's like old or whatever, but like just chill out. Like save your people. You can use a sword, but use it to protect the women and children. Like let them, because if they all die, you will be the only one that knows how to fight. So like I understand where she's coming from, because like, you know, she wants to help, but like just stay back. You are one of my only last heirs, and you're like my niece, so just shush. So did Arwen's magic of protection help Brago, the horse, get to Aragorn? Like, that's so conveniently lucky. He was like, release this horse. He's seen enough war. But then the horse comes back for him, and I'm just like, wow, okay. That seems way too magical. Like, this horse isn't supposed to be particularly magical, but he spoke Elven to it, and it helped calm him down. So I guess they're bonded, but I'm confused. Like, I know Tolkien has, like, a soft spot for horses, because so many of them were sacrificed in World War I. That's a war he participated in. And there's a bunch of, like, stories on it. There was someone in my class in college who did, like, a research paper on it, which was interesting. I don't really get it. It's still, like, it's like, oh, that's nice sentiment, I suppose. But I don't really get how it works. I don't know whether or not they filmed the stuff in Osgiliath, I think it's called. It's a very cool name, by the way. Where Sean Bean is back, but I'm glad he came back for these flashback scenes with his brother Faramir. Though his dad fucking sucks. He's so judgmental and rude, and you know, he's like, you're the firstborn, your older brother, you are my eldest son, you get all the responsibility, and you go fuck yourself. Like, that just sucks. So I hope Faramir is able to prove himself and not be so easily corrupted and can bring justice to the name of Gondor. It was a shame that Sean Bean died. I liked his character enough, though he was easily corrupted, unlike what his father believed. And then, I don't know, we need a win for the men, for the humans. Let's see what happens. Yay, the elves are here to help even out the odds, because 3,000 versus 10,000 sounded fucking dreadful. But they're all marching in similar hoods to what Arwen was wearing. So is Arwen here? And if so, why has she not gone and found my dude? Unless she was the ones who went to Vananir, wherever the unyielding lands are, or the Undying Lands. I mean, Elrond is nice to have brought these people, but I'm confused. I mean, I'm looking forward to this fight. This is actually getting quite interesting, but we'll see. I'm very stressed. I know there was that army that Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli encountered initially before going to Rohan. Were aligned with them before the greasy worm guy kicked them out and abandoned them because he was coercing the king. Had they not heard about the orcs marching? I hope they show up. I feel like that would make sense for them to show up. But the fact that they haven't yet is kind of a bummer, because they still are part of the man's army, and you think word would have already been sent out, because Faramir knows of Gondor being under, or Osgiliath being in danger, so you think they would have heard about the keep needing assistance. And would Faramir be the one to help them? Because Faramir, at the moment, is kind of a disappointing character. He abused Gollum / Smeagol and is pushing Smeagol to rely on Gollum again and thus betray Frodo. So I hope that he has a better, like, character arc development going forward to help the world of men and to help, you know, the good side win. But we'll see. I think Gimli is one of my favorite characters. He's just, there's a part of me that's upset because he's just kind of comic relief for a good chunk of it. But he has a lot of spirit and heart. He has been, like, a part of this journey since the Fellowship was created. And then he's like, just toss me. And even though he said earlier, like, dwarves are never to be tossed. Like, he's just like, I can't go the distance, just throw me and we'll go to war together. You and me, Aragorn. It's very sweet. I really like him. He's a good lad, you know? I feel like I knew that the Ents were gonna go to war and fight against Isengard, but like this really did feel like a waste of time, like having them talk in Entish. And yes, I know, like he explained Treebeard that to say anything in Entish takes a long time because it is worth saying. But like this felt like such a waste of time. They could have just stepped outside their own borders and seen that Sauron was cutting down trees since the first movie. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, this is interesting. This feels like almost an environmental take. The trees are mad because you hurt them, and now we go to fight for nature. Even if we are to die, we at least stand for the purpose that you have done wrong against nature. Blah, blah. And he made like he had like a whole roar because he knew these trees and they all had voices since Acorn and Nut. And it's nice. And it's good that like Merry and Pippin finally had this moment to like kind of push them, even though they were gonna say like, fine, you guys don't want to fight, we'll go somewhere and do something ourselves. And that kind of seemed to have helped inspire the Ents, or at least Treebeard to a degree. But it still felt kind of like a waste of time, all this debating. And all this like a communication. Like if you had just asked, like if Thedian, what's his name? The guy who's the king of Rohan. If you had just asked Osagaeth for help, they probably would have helped, but they're also under attack, and they could have like joined forces to like fight them together, but having them so disjointed is kind of a shame. And I know like men are like selfish and untrusting, and Faramir is still proving to be a little shit because he's like, I'm gonna be worse than my brother, I'm not even gonna try and resist the ring, I'm gonna try and use it for my own gain in Osagaeth just because my father's been so cruel to me, which he has. So he has like a chip on his shoulder and he wants to fight for it, but like he should know better. It's just kind of sad. Like, this movie has been a lot of talking as well. And, like, twiddling our thumbs until deciding things too late and fighting against crazy odds. Aragorn seems to have a weird way, I don't know if it's because of his lineage, but he has, like, a weird way of persuading, or not a weird way, but, like, he has such an easy way of persuading people to do as he wants. He just sort of talked with Theoden, the ruler of Rohan, into doing as he wanted finally. Without much argument, which was kind of lame. I guess he is at like his limit and he fears the worst, and he did lead all of his people to die kind of almost needlessly. I'm assuming they're sounding the horn to alert Gondor and Osagaeth for assistance maybe? I'm not sure. Also, where were the horses in that room? They were not in there in the last entrance of the keep. They were not there, and then suddenly they were all on horses, and I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure the horses were never there, but yay convenience. And on the 5th day of the dawn, Gandalf has appeared with Éomer and the people who were all banished because of the worm gremlin man, and they're all here, so yay, we have a chance. That's exciting. It's awfully convenient that Gandalf's kind of prophecy came true. I guess that's just sort of how wizards work. Still, yay, they're here. Though, again, so many people have needlessly died, including a lot of elves. There were not a lot of elves left standing. Not even, like, with them in the entrance. Like, where did they all go? Did every single elfman die? It really sucks. Also, yes, I'm glad that Éomer and his men are here, but they're making it seem like there was a lot more of them than there were before. I'm almost positive they've, like, tripled in size. It does not make any sense as to how they're all here now. No, there's no way. There were probably maybe like 1,500 or 2,000 generously of them before, and now it almost seems like there's 5,000. It's way too many. So yay, we won. But Pippin and Merry are still like kind of idiots, and they're still just driven by food and weed, or just smoking. It's not like weed. That was a little bit of a letdown. I guess it's just like they have a moment to relax. Still kind of lame. I guess it's like, you know what? If it helps to defeat Saruman and Sauron for you to eat their shit, then I guess go ahead. But it's like, ugh. I just had to roll my eyes. And then Treebeard is like, what are they doing? I smell them, or I smell something. And I'm like, what if that stuff is like offensive for them to eat? Like, they did this whole thing to help bring down Saruman. They opened the dam. Literally, nature fought back, clapped back on these bitches. And then they're just like, let's test the waters and eat some parts of nature anyway. And burn it, no less. It's dumb. disappointing. Also cool to see the trees fight back against the orcs. You think if the forest was so detrimental, why wouldn't they try leading the orcs in there to begin with? Unless the orcs also knew? But then they went in there willingly, but I guess they were on the defense and losing at the end. But just a little confusing. So we've come to the end of the Two Towers. It was better than the first one, I will say. There was more action and there was more grandeur and there was more expansion of the world, which I thought was interesting. I will say part of the pacing was a little off because they kept having to cut back between multiple storylines. Between Merry and Pippin with the Ents, and then Aragorn with Legolas and Gimli, and then with Frodo, Sam, and then Smeagol/Gollum, and then seeing some parts with Saruman, and then getting a little bit of Gandalf at the end. It's a lot to juggle, I will say. But they left on quite a cliffy. They were like, oh shoot, Gollum is back, and Smeagol has like fallen ill to his like temptations to be like, oh, we'll kill Sam and Frodo because they broke their promise. Which they kind of did, but they did intend to save him. They didn't intend to harm Smeagol. And then now they're talking about a she that will kill them, and then he'll get his precious back. And they're on their way to Mordor and Mount Doom. It's interesting. Like, I don't know who she is. I'm assuming it's Galadriel. There we go. These names are complicated to remember, I'm not gonna lie. Possibly corrupted? Unless there's someone else? Because he's leading them to this weird thing that has, like, really intense darkness that's supposed to, like, be really risky. I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. I'll have to watch the rest of it tomorrow because it is midnight now. I will say I did fall asleep again, but I think, again, it's mostly because I'm sick. I will say I do feel genuinely that I fell asleep because the Fellowship of the Ring was kind of long. Or not even that as long. And again, I am watching the extended version, so maybe I shouldn't have, but I feel like I'm getting most of the story through the extended versions. But I feel like despite the story in Two Towers being a lot more split because there are 3 different groups to follow, I feel like I'm enjoying that more than like watching like them just sort of parade through the forest on like a fetch quest and avoiding dangers at every corner. Like, there's somehow the way they did it in Fellowship of the Ring that wasn't very entertaining. I felt like a lot more egregious and a waste of time. Though there definitely were moments in this movie where I felt like, okay, we've gone on too long. We've done a lot to like waste time. Like the whole thing with the Ents talking, I was just like, just say it. Like, I know maybe it wouldn't have been have importance if they said it in the common tongue, but like honestly, you think the Ents being what they are, they seem to be quite disconnected because they don't even know where the Ent wives are. But you think they would have sensed that their fellow trees were getting burned by Saruman, and that would have helped provoke them into getting involved sooner. So I don't really understand why they waited for so long. I guess it's like, what is it? Not my barrels, not my monkeys. Not my business, not my monkeys. What's the saying? I don't know. But because they weren't in the forest. But they were. Saruman was already burning trees since like early on in the first movie. So they should have been more involved and more aware of their situation sooner. And they could have helped sooner, but I don't know. It was still interesting. I love the tree ants designs. I've been watching a lot of lore and descriptions of characters in League of Legends, and Ivern, I think, is a really interesting character. And there's another guy, Malachi, who's very interesting, who I think have great designs, and they look very much like tree ants. But I think tree ants take it like a step further, though Ivern is so fucking cool. I wish we understood more what they were. I don't understand why they lost track of the Entwives. And I don't know if it's just in their forest, Faragon, if the trees are alive, or if it's like every tree has a voice. But yeah, I think this was a much better movie. I really liked the fighting, even though I felt like it wasn't super effective in the beginning. I felt like it did have payoffs, and it did feel like there were stakes, which is good. Though I'm glad no one that we really cared about died. I know Aragorn's friend died, Halfield. Sorry. He was just some blonde elf who came in and was like, we're here to help on Elrond's regards. And we saw them talking in the first movie with each other. So yeah. I also really like Legolas's and Gimli's relationship or friendship. I don't think they're like shipped in any way. But I like their like kind of rivalry. A part of it seems sort of like steeped in racism, because Gimli keeps calling him pointy ears and he keeps referring to him as the elf, and then Legolas like makes jabs at him, but I like they have like good camaraderie, and they're still fighting for the same cause. You know, I guess they're like unlikely of friends. Like if the fellowship didn't happen, they wouldn't really have crossed paths, I don't think. But the fact that they had crossed paths, I think, makes them interesting friends. What else? I think this was a better movie, and I'm looking forward to the Return of the King. I think that could refer to Aragorn, but that could also refer to Sauron and maybe someone else. I'm excited to see Galadriel again. I believe she's coming back. She's very important, I think. And I'll let you know my thoughts on that tomorrow. Bye for now.